Absolutely fantastic.
Oh, and you'll need a syringe, a blowtorch and some wood chips from the garden. After all this, you'll never cook or look at beef the same way again. For me, great steaks should be juicy, tender, and packed full of flavour. What most people do is go and buy a steak from the supermarket, get it out of the packet, straight from the fridge, into a pan, medium heat, cook it, and then eat it immediately. But that is all wrong. First, choose the right cut of steak. Go for a steak that's big enough so it doesn't dry out in the pan, and it's got really nice fat marbling. Marbling will help it stay juicy, so choose a cut like sirloin or this one, ribeye. The first thing you want to do is take it out of the packet, put it on a cake rack, set over a tray, and leave it in the fridge for 2 days. The air will circulate around the steak, and it'll start to dry out, which will concentrate the flavour and start to tenderise the meat. Another mistake people make is to cook the steak straight from the fridge. By the time you've got the centre to the right temperature, the outside's going to be overcooked. So, leave it for a couple of hours to come to room temperature. Now it's ready to cook. The perfect steak has a delicious dark brown outside, juicy inside. I found a really easy way to achieve just that. Now, most recipes say you put the steak in a medium pan and leave it there for 2 to 4 minutes, turning once. But this is not the way to get the best results. What I do is start with a really hot pan, and I mean smoking hot. Now, I know a lot of you are going to leave that thinking, too slow when it's on cooking down, you're not going in the kitchen down. Next, season your steak with table salt, but not this pan is so hot, save that to the end. Lay the steak in the pan away from you, just look at that hot oil jumping out. The intense heat will give you that brown crust by causing an amazing thing called a mayonnaise, in which proteins and sugars react to create delicious meat flavors. Here's my secret for the perfect steak. I'm flipping the steak every 15 to 20 seconds. As you can see on the imaging camera, the side away from the heat cools down really quickly. My flipping trick means that the outside stay hot enough for the crust to form, but the insides won't overcook. Now, how do you tell when your steak is done? Don't cut into your steak to test if it's ready. You'll only let the juices run out. Get a digital thermometer and push it into the middle. If you want rare, take it out at 45 degrees, medium 55, well done out at 65 degrees centigrade. Next, very important though, is let the meat rest. You know the steak looks good enough to eat. With the help of my development chef Otto, unique chef. Now, believe it or not, 75% of this is water. It's really important to keep as much of this moisture in the meat as possible after cooking. That's what's going to make it juicy, and that's what resting does. Otto's cooking your steak gives you every 15 seconds, just as I show you. As soon as that meat starts heating up, the proteins start contracting, and they force the water out of the cells in the meat. Now, this meat has no if you try to cut into it now, you'll lose all that juiciness. Watch what happens when my hydraulic press applies his weight on the and this steak has been well and truly squashed and obliterated. And look at all of these juices that have come out. And what happens when a steak is properly rested? This is exactly the same way as a the fibers will cool down, relax, or keep the juices in the steak. Put in a squelch. Now, look at this. And if you want to get into this jar, look at the difference between those two. This just shows you how important it is to roast your meat. That didn't come out of it, so it held on to its juices in spite of the mighty oil. Now back to my rested steak. You can see there is a beautiful crust which will be juicy and full of flavour, and all of that moisture held inside the meat. Tender steak, just the most delicious, juicy tender steak. Not just choosing the right type of meat to your steak that matters. The flavour of all beef cuts depend on which part of the animal they come from. I've got a big old bowl. My butcher mate Jack is going to help me show you how to tell the tender from the tough. Most people think that tender cuts like sirloin are generally the best, but the tough muscular cuts can be really tasty. Any cut of meat that comes from the part of the animal that has had to do work needs longer cooking. Cows wander about and eat all day, so it's not surprising which are the muscular tough cuts.
You would have Oxtail, which is on the inside of the leg, and on the silver side, on this side of the leg, the cheek. Wonderful, wonderful piece of meat, which of course never stops chewing the cud.
Tough cuts like these can be the most delicious of all when cooked slow and low in stews, casseroles or roasts.
And then the magic of an oxtail, possibly the muscle that works the hardest, goes right around to get a fantastic flavour.
Favourites, and I'm going to be cooking with it later. Now for the tender parts that don't do much work. Like our steak, they should be cooked hot and fast.
That's your classic British sirloin steaks along there. Of course, the most tender of all, the fillet. Underneath that backbone, down there in the middle of the piece. Like that.
Oh, a lot of people love fillet. Well, it's good and tender, but doesn't do any work.
It just kind of hangs there, and that's exactly why it's so tender.
There are so many different cuts of beef, and millions of ways to cook them. I'm off to meet the protein-loving local rugby team to see how they cook their favourite hamburgers, and see what they think of my tried and tested technique. One of the most important things about a burger is its texture. These boys aren't known for their light touch. But for a delicious tender burger, that's exactly what you need. Right, so let's go first.
That'll be me, I think.
Okay.
It's going to be very British.
Caesar stayed in there, melted.
Competition.
Show them my fail-safe way to bind the burger and keep it soft and tender in the sirloin. So 625 grams of diced sirloin, nice and fatty, so it's got loads of flavour. Now for my binding trick. Sprinkle it with salt and then left it for 4 hours. And the salt will bind the meat without adding any bread or eggs. Now I'm adding 1.2 kilograms of unsalted mince and pushing it all through a mincer so that it comes out in thick strands. Catch those strands and lie them in parallel lines, then wrap them in cling film to keep them together. So now this needs to go into the fridges for a couple of hours so the salt can do its work and bind the meat together. This is the biggest trick for making a tender burger, because the mince fibres go like this. Turn it that way so the theory is when you bite into it, it just kind of falls apart. Biting down on the grain instead of across it makes the burgers melt in your mouth. Flip them every 15 to 20 seconds. I'm cooking it hot and fast for that brown crust, making sure the flames lick the meat. I pop some cheese on top, and now the fun stuff. The magic ingredient. It's basically ketchup, mayonnaise and mustard.
Bloody good burger.
I hope I've convinced them to try ditching the eggs and the brute force. In part 2, we'll step up a gear with some beefy magic that you can do at home. A suet pudding trick that will change the way you make pies forever. And a bonfire on every plate with my smoking chili con carne. For this week, I'm taking one ingredient and giving you some of my most exciting secrets and techniques. This week, it's that most British of meats, beef. Master the basics. Next, some real fiesta. Before I start some guessing my bonfire chili con carne. This is my take on a British classic, which is steak and kidney pudding. They're replacing the steak with the oxtail, gives you a much richer, very glossy, deep, complex, absolutely delicious dish. Now, I developed this recipe to boost every single flavour, and you can use these techniques in any beef pie or stew. First trick, star anise. This is the magic ingredient. That aniseedy Chinese spice lifts beef to another level. Sweat 1 star anise with chopped onions and butter. Those two ingredients combined are really going to boost the meaty flavours from the oxtail. And I've added to that some finely sliced carrots and button mushroom. Take it off when it's golden. Then, my next flavour boosting trick. That stuff at the bottom of the saucepan is full of deliciousness, so use it. Now, the oxtail. I love this cut of meat. They're not really putting too think about it. Oxtail, obviously, is quite a part of the animal that you wouldn't really want to eat. But what it does do is it gives flavour. For a really deep, meaty flavour, we need to kickstart the old Mayo reaction. So get the oil smoking hot to brown the meat. Very important thing when browning meat. As much of a pain as it might seem, if you can't fit all the meat in one layer in the pan, you need to do it in more than one batch. Otherwise, meat will sit on top of each other. Meat will sit on top of each other. Basically, we're over a blown pan. The meat's now nicely browned all over, and it needs to come out of the pan so I can capture all of those delicious flavours at the bottom. This time, to give a bit of an oomph, I'm adding 100 ml of brandy and 750 ml each of red wine, chicken stock and beef stock. Then, tomatoes, thyme and a bay leaf. And cook back the oxtail and vegetables. Now, I said this needs to be cooked low and slow. In a conventional saucepan, it will take at least 4 hours, but I've discovered that we can speed that up with the power of pressure. A pressure cooker will cook it in just 2. Here, the oxtail, I've turned this off and let it cool down. This is really important. I left the meat in the pan cooling down for 45 minutes. So a lot of people do when making stews, they'll take the meat out while it's still hot, because they can't basically bother to wait for it to cool down. That is a big mistake. As it cools down, all that steam and moisture is going to come out of the meat, and you'll be left with really dry pieces of meat. Now to thicken the sauce. Oxtail is full of gelatin, which means it will thicken all on its own. So strain it and reduce it on a high heat. Now back to the meat. After 2 hours of gentle pressure cooking, that meat will just fall off the bone. So now, to finish the filling, here I've got my picked oxtail, and then here I've got kidneys. I'm using veal kidneys, partly because I think they're delicious. Also, I'm going to keep it with a cat for this dish. Then, here's my reduced sauce. You can see it's starting to turn into jelly. It's fantastic. I'm going to add nearly all of this. I just want to keep a little bit back for finishing touch, which I'll show you later. To keep with the beef theme, I'm encasing my oxtail stew in a suet pastry. You'll find the recipe for this at channel4.com/Heston. Simply fill these with a mixture. Take the lid and trim off the excess dough. I need to protect the lid with this parchment paper and elastic band. Pop the puddings in a pan of water and steam for 35 minutes. When the pudding's done, carefully ease it out of the mould. Probably the only nice smell I can ever remember from school dinners. Now here's my big juicy pie technique. Remember, I saved some of the sauce to just spoon the sauce over the pudding. I don't want to do that. I want to inject it. This may look bonkers, but by injecting the pie right at the end, you can guarantee it's amazingly juicy and saucy. That is just so deeply satisfying. Ingredients that work really well with beef. And also boost the meaty characteristic of the dish. For me, if I was going to pick one ingredient that really allows beef to sing, it's the smell of a bonfire. So, for my next recipe, I'm going to use these wood chips. Smoking wood chips will bring back memories of the bonfire and add a lovely smoky flavour to my chili con carne. Most of us recognise a chili con carne, and I think a lot of us think of it as quite a simple dish. But with this recipe and a couple of great techniques, you can lift chili con carne into something really quite spectacular. First, the meat. I'm using standard mince, making a tiny so often served as a grey or watery mass. But I'm going to show you how to make gorgeous mince every time. So, 450 grams of minced beef, which you need to sear it brown with butters. Both over the cloud pan. Your mince just comes to when the mince is really dark brown, tip it into a bowl. Now for the chili sauce. I'm making the amazing onion and starlies combo. Then 1 diced carrot, 1 green chili, garlic, 1 tomato, and some tomato puree. Tomatoes have these compounds in them that, a bit like the onion and starlies mixture, massively boost meaty flavours. Pour in half a bottle of red wine and boil it until it's syrupy. Then return the brown mince to the pan and add 500 grams of beef stock. I want this mince to really break down so it becomes part of the sauce. So leave it to stew with the lid off for a minimum of 2 hours, giving it the occasional stir. Next, the beans. 150 grams of dried kidney beans. Soak in salted water overnight to stop them splitting. I learned this the hard way. So obsessed about this. Do you know what? They did. It was even worse. Didn't know what to do with those results. To add my beans with flavour, I've cooked 500 grams of cherry tomatoes in a pressure cooker and strained the juice. And chopped in the vine for a tomatoey boost. Go into a greenhouse full of tomatoes and that wonderful smell. It's not the tomatoes that's making that smell, it's these. They'll add an extra aromatic character to the dish. Cook the beans in the tomato sauce for 20 minutes. The mince and beans are ready, so you can now mix them together. And now I'm going to make something I think is really magical for this dish and a great technique for lots of stews. A flavoured butter. To make this, toast 1½ teaspoons each of ground cumin, smoked paprika and cayenne pepper. Salted butter just softened. I'm going to add to that tomato ketchup, splash of Worcester sauce, touch of Marmite. So add to that the warm toasted spice oil and then stir. The great thing with this is you can make more than you need. It will keep in the fridge for several weeks. Now just stir some of the butter into the chili. That is a great chili. The chili's done, but I'm not stopping there. I'm serving it up like a real American cowboy chili with its own little campfire. I've invited the local rugby guys for lunch and they've got no idea what I'm going to give them.
I genuinely think it's a spag bowl.
Heston, hello.
Hey, I just had spag bowl mentioned then. I taught myself to cook. Over 20 years of obsessively experimenting in the kitchen, questioning everything to create my magical restaurant business. Now I'm going to share my secrets with you so you can cook like me at home. Let's put it in today. Each week we'll look at one key ingredient like cheese, beef or chocolate. This week, it's eggs. I really believe that by getting to grips with your ingredients, you'll gain the confidence to be more creative in your cooking. I'm going to go back to basics, challenge traditional techniques, and compile a compendium of tips to transform how you cook at home. I'm going to take advice from that. I'm going to share my innovative secrets. It's quite amazing. They've just been pushed out of a chicken's backside, but they're one of the most important and versatile ingredients in the kitchen. This week I'm going to be challenging the way we cook eggs, from basics like boiling and poaching to unscrambling egg mitts with some home cooks from my village. Where's he came from?
I don't think you really want to know, do you?
When you've mastered the simple stuff, you'll become fearless with mayonnaise. You'll easily make the lemon tart of your dreams. That's beautiful. And some bonkers magic to recreate at home. A cauldron of bacon and egg ice cream. You'll need a syringe, a thermometer, some dry ice, and a handful of spare change. After all that, you'll never cook or look at an egg the same way again. To me, one of life's great pleasures is a perfectly boiled egg. The traditional way of cooking eggs is that you boil them for 3 minutes. Boiling an egg is pretty aggressive. The secret to a great boiled egg is in fact that you don't boil it. The problem with boiling an egg is if the yolk is right, the whites can be rubbing, and if the white's right, place it on the highest heat, and the moment the water starts boiling, take off the heat and then leave it for 6 minutes. Just leave it in the hot water with the lid on. You've got to think about residual heat. There's a lot of cooking that happens away from the heat source. If you take a look at an egg through the lens of a thermal imaging camera, you can see exactly what's happening. The water's still 90 degrees. It's hot enough to cook it gently, but without the shock of boiling. This way, the temperature will be more gentle, you'll avoid the rubbery egg white, but you'll still get a beautifully rich, warm, runny yolk. Someone wants his egg back. Perfect boiled egg. Beautifully soft, delicate white. And then hidden underneath is just this completely runny, rich yolk. I'll replace soldiers with some asparagus. Well, that's great. I'm off to the village hall to see how some local local ladies do another basic, scrambled eggs. I've spent years questioning the way we cook and working out how to get the best results. So I'm keen to see how traditional cooking compares to my tried and tested approach.
I'm Carol Stanton, WI President for Hollywood.
Slightly scared.
You've got something to make you feel at home? In Hopeful?
I'm in touch with my dinner inside. Scrambled eggs can go incredibly wrong. For me, it's all about the texture. First up, pouring. She swears by adding butter and milk to the eggs, whisking hard, then stirring on a high heat in a non-stick frying pan. And this is your special scrambled egg pan?
It is.
Roz uses the same ingredients, but she chucks them straight in a saucepan and stirs slowly. Where's it coming from?
I don't think you really want to know, do you? I don't need one, so I'm using a microwave.
How long are you going to cook that for? So, what do these three versions taste like? First, Pauline's buttery non-stick pan method. Very nice taste. Second, Pat's microwave method. No, it's okay. A little bit drier for me. And finally, Roz's chamber pot method. Get stuck in. Creamy and buttery. That's nice.
It's your turn now.
I'm just going to go to the post office.
Going nowhere.
All theirs tasted okay, but none had the silky smoothness you can get from scrambled eggs. I'm going to try and convince them to switch over to my foolproof technique.
Are you nervous?
I'm as calm as anything. Now for the science. The ideal ingredients are butter and cream to make it silky smooth. Eggs, milk, and just a touch of cream. Beat the eggs, and then, to keep them away from direct heat, I'm using a bowl set over a pan of hot water. And I'm going to cook them in the bain-marie.
Oh, what do you think, Anne-Marie?
The key thing to this is this is about 15 minutes. You just cook it for longer. Finally, I drizzle the egg with some brown butter, which adds a real nuttiness and a drop of sherry vinegar. It just cuts through the richness.
Isn't it? Yeah.
So dig in.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. It really is. Absolutely fantastic. Every morning. Is it lovely? Just have another bit.
I think I might have just convinced them, but I've got a really magical egg recipe coming up for them later. Now for another one of my favourites. I love poached eggs, only when they're cooked perfectly. And there's loads of strange myths about how to do them. One technique is you or you put a spoon or something into the water, spin it around really quickly, and then slide the egg in. And that helps to keep the white melting around the egg. Another technique is to add some vinegar to the water. But what that does is it makes the egg white tough and dry. And sometimes it's vinegar actually tastes acidic. So you can't make a great poached egg without using a fresh egg. If you don't get your egg direct from the chicken, how can you tell how fresh it really is? If I put a fresh egg, it says, and this egg is just over 3 weeks old. You see the difference? The old egg is floating. The reason this is close is a little air here, and as the egg gets older, the inside of it starts to shrink. Moisture dries out, and as it shrinks, this egg can get bigger as the air can get bigger. Just like a balloon, the egg starts to float. Here's why the age of an egg is important for poaching. Here is a 3-week-old egg. As eggs get older, the whites become watery, and that's what causes the stringy bits when you try to poach them. But the white is okay for things like soufflés and meringues, and if you're going to scramble it, well, that's okay. In a fresh egg, the white is firmer, and this is going to make a massive difference. So, if you've got a fresh egg, how do you poach it to perfection? This technique, fresh egg has a little bit of watery white, so you've got to blend it up. That's the stuff that's going to stimulate and basically mess up the poached egg. So I'm left with a nice, clean white. also worked out how long to cook it. Start the timer. 4 minutes. Now this is ready. Simple toasted mutton. All that needs. Cracked black pepper, a few grains of salt. For something that good, it really doesn't need anything else. This is one of the great egg dishes when done right. Eggs have an amazing magical quality. The yolks contain a substance called lecithin, which holds those arch enemies, oil and water, together. And that's the secret behind mayonnaise. So I'll show you how to make mayonnaise. Just take 1 room temperature egg, just need the yolk, add a dollop of mustard, then at first add the oil very, very slowly while whisking. The egg yolk's 50% water, but the magic ingredient, the lecithin, binds the water in the egg to the oil. People say you have to drip the oil, literally 1 drip at a time. But it's not necessary. Just add very gently, very slowly, just dripping in. And as it starts to emulsify, you'll notice the mix is going to thicken. And then you start to increase the amount of oil you add. What we do? Just a few drops of vinegar. Some salt. So this ratio of egg yolk to oil is quite a common standard mayonnaise recipe. 50 grams of oil and 1 egg. Now, I think we should start adding some more. A lot of people don't like to make mayonnaise because they think if they add too much oil, it's just going to split. Now that's not true. So me and my development chefs are going to do a simple test to see just how much oil you can add to 1 little egg yolk before it splits. At a massive 1.5 litres, it's just starting to split. That's 7 times what the recipe books say. So our experiment shows, don't be scared of mayo, give it a go, and trust the power of the egg. It also shows people make an awful lot of eggs with more oil, a bucket, a parasol, and 1 off. Now we know the basic egg techniques. Let's step up again. Here's a puzzle for you. How do you keep the yolk running when it's been boiled, fried and baked in a Scotch egg? Impossible? No, it's easy. I remember when I was a kid, one of the things I got really excited about on a picnic was a Scotch egg. So I look back at it, I think, oh, hard-boiled egg, sometimes a bit green, with this sausage casing, and then coated in this really bizarre orange kind of pasty powder stuff. I didn't even know what it was. So for me, I wanted to rise to the challenge of reinventing a Scotch egg. So the challenge is how to keep the yolk running at the end of the cooking process. First trick, only half boil the egg. So leave it for just 3 minutes instead of 6. Next, kitchen magic, rice trick. Bath the eggs in iced water to stop them cooking. Now you need to peel them with a spoon. The shells should now come off nice and easy. Sometimes we never work with children, small animals, and hard-boiled eggshells. Oh well, here's a couple that did peel properly. The next stage, I need to make a sausage casing. So for that, I need some sausages. Unwrap the casing. I'll show you in the next step. With paprika, cornstarch, and hot dog mustard. There are highly technical, scientifically advanced reasons for adding this. I love it. A splash of water. Now somehow the fat lots got to stick together in a paste. For that, I've got a very surprising glue, a bit of kitchen magic, salt. Salt will mix with the meat and draw out some proteins from it, which will act as like a glue and help it bind. That's a great technique. If you're making a burger, for example, you don't need the breadcrumbs, you don't need the egg yolk. Just add enough cling film. Just gather the cling film around the egg. Then unwrap and dip first into flour, then beaten egg and breadcrumbs. Okay, ready to go. Hold your breath, chuck it in really hot oil, 190 degrees. The idea of this is to get the protein brown and crisp as soon as possible. We're going to finish the cooking up in the oven. This should take a couple of minutes. Not long enough for the heat to reach the egg yolk. Now, basically not how you got as long as you're about. You make the egg whites. So bake for just 10 minutes at 190 degrees. So those eggs have been boiled, fried, and baked. That soft yolk is the yolk is so creamy. That is one sexy Scotch egg. Through the trick with my bacon and egg ice cream. It's brilliant. Each week I'm going to take one ingredient and tell you all my secrets from the basic techniques to my most magical recipes. This week, one of the most important ingredients in the kitchen, eggs. We mastered boiling, poaching and scrambling. Now for some real magic. But before I surprise some local ladies from my village grey with my bacon and egg ice cream, I'm going to reveal a simple trick to give you the perfect custard tart every time. Me and my chefs must have spent years modelling tarts. Because the traditional way of telling when you're liquid egg-based filling your tart was perfectly cooked. Alright, it's so very good. Then I discovered a fail-safe thermometer trick and made the wobble test a thing of the past. And by using that thermometer, every time you cook this, taste it, so that after a very good, the oven will make, because the result is absolutely incredible. I really took these attempts to level a tart. So if you see that, it's really accurate. So, I'm introducing the simple, scientifically researched, fail-safe lemon custard tart. First off, the pastry. For that, I need some spare change. Roll out the pastry to the thickness of 2 cartridges and line the base. So what we need to do with this is blind baking. Blind baking is a practical technique where you basically cook the pastry first. So cook it with a fork and scrunch up some parchment paper about half a dozen times. And what you end up with is as much soft as possible, basically to damage the pastry. You usually use baking beans to stop the base rising. I'm going to use coins. They conduct the heat better. To your custard, you know, exactly what we're looking for. At this stage, I'm going to now take this, chuck it into dry, stir it, wait for the vapours to go down, give it a minute, and I'll have some ice cream. For me, that's not enough. I want to give it more theatre, and I'm using dry ice. It needs theatre and surprise. So I've blown some eggs out and sterilised the shells in boiling water. And I'm going to hide the custard in those empty eggshells. I've invited the Women's Institute ladies round to sample my magical dessert. I've got a bit of a reputation around Bray for strange food, and I don't want to disappoint them. But there might be it's absolutely fabulous.
Really smooth. It's lovely, it really is.
So how has the heady mixture of eggs, bacon, theatre and sides gone down with the ladies of Bray?
I bet things come out with just I don't taste it anyway.
Puppy dog towels.
Slugs and snails, yeah.
That's next, don't you?
Yeah. Oh.
Next week, seductive chocolate. I'll melt it, flock it, shock it, make a trick dessert. And magic a simple truffle into a cake that explodes in your mouth. Sublime. Pure delight.
9 o'clock, you're pregnant. You're about to pop. Surely high heels is last on the list. And then you've got a very fashionable one every minute. Take your brother's house. And tonight they're like fast and furious.
Myself to cook. Over 20 years of obsessively experimenting in the kitchen and questioning everything to create my magical restaurant dishes. Now I'm going to share my secrets with you so you can cook like me at home. Each week we'll look at one key ingredient like cheese, beef or eggs. This week it's chocolate. They will really believe that by getting to grips with your ingredients, you'll gain the confidence to be more creative with your cooking. I like that. I'm going to go back to basics, challenge traditional techniques, and compile a compendium of tips to transform how you cook. I'll take a while on that one, so come and share my innermost secrets. Ingredients that work with chocolate and some that frankly don't. Then it looks like, if I taste that, taste it like that, nobody would ever eat chocolate. It's just really bitter. So these beans are fermented and then roasted. At this point, they're incredibly hard little things that need to be ground down with massive vacuum machines. We haven't got one of them, but it's a good excuse to make a rubbish of chocolate. It's already starting to smell like chocolate. In a factory, the crush is that if you're anything like me, you've got to buy a lot more than you need because I end up eating as much as I need for my recipe. The second thing you need to know about chocolate is how to It's really tricky to do. But in fact, it's pretty easy. If you follow 3 key steps, you'll get healthy results of chocolate every time. But once I've mastered this, I'm going to show you how to make the most delicious and yet incredibly simple chocolate crackers. There are loads of ways of melting chocolate, but this is the foolproof way. Remember that chocolate contains cocoa butter, so treat it just like butter. Warm it gently away from direct heat, or it will split and separate. You just can't rush chocolate, you've got to gently seduce it. Make sure the water doesn't touch the bottom of the bowl, and just put it on a medium heat, and then just gently roll. Second, just give it a stir so it melts evenly. You can see the hot and the cold mixing together. With the chocolate and the motion. Third, beware of water. Even the tiniest splash may make it seize up and go lumpy. You know that if you love the chocolate. Now let's use the melted chocolate to make the sexiest, sloppiest truffle in the world. This simple little combination can just produce so many delightful recipes. So to get the best out of chocolate, you need to melt it gently, but even before that, it's vital to take good care of it. A few important things to do when storing chocolate. First, chocolate does not like fluctuations of temperature or humidity. If the environment becomes too warm or too cool, you'll get this orange white spots on the surface of the chocolate. It loves aromas. So if you've got chocolate in the fridge, it's important to have it completely wrapped, ideally in an airtight container. And thirdly, most importantly of all, is to make sure you keep your chocolate hidden away. Otherwise, this happens. What a pig. butter and a couple of tablespoons of sugar, and then just blitz this up. Okay, so what I've got here is like a biscuit crumb. Now the popping candy. Just be really careful you don't squeeze too hard, otherwise this stuff is going to crackle and lose all its pop. Put that in a cake mold and leave it to set. Now the topping, it's basically a giant truffle, just like the one we made earlier. This time, to give it a passionate twist, I'm adding an extra ingredient. Passion fruit for me has a fantastic affinity with chocolate. This cake is going to be really silky smooth and incredibly rich. The acidity from the passion fruit is just going to lift it to another level. Scoop out half a dozen passion fruits. Tip that into 175 grams of whipping cream. Bring the whole thing to the boil and leave the flavours to infuse for 5 minutes. Next, I need to strain out the passion fruit seeds from the cream. And now, here's a cheat. Add 50 grams of shop-bought custard. It'll make it set a little bit softer. In fact, too soft to be able to mould a truffle from, but just perfect for this gatto. Now, we'll pour the cream into the chocolate. There is something so therapeutic about working with chocolate. You hear that noise? I just had a moment there. Then finally pour the ganache over the biscuit base and pop it in the freezer till it sets. And that's it. Now you just need to get the mould off the frozen cake, which gives me another great excuse to get the power tools out. And the first one is a blowtorch. This is the easiest way of removing a mould from a frozen gatto. And this should then just slide down over the gatto. You can just let that defrost and it's ready. But I want to give it a final crowning glory, a rich velvety coat. For that, I need another power tool, a paint gun. Now you just pick this up from the DIY store. But instead of paint, I'm filling it with a mixture of warm melted chocolate and oil. What is it with me and sweet? And when I finally get the thing together, I can do the fun bit and spray. This is DIY heaven, and the effect is amazing. When the melted chocolate hits the frozen cake, it solidifies instantly, giving it that rich velvet coating. But if you don't happen to have a paint sprayer, all is not lost. Simply sprinkle the unfrozen cake with cocoa powder and dive in. This gatto has got everything. Really delicate acidity of the flavours from passion fruit. And just when you think it's got it all, you then get this just incredible crackle and pop somewhere around